A pivotal moment in Jesus' ministry that we hear in John's Gospel, chapter 6, when Jesus has just spoken, taught the people about himself as the Eucharist, that they're to feed on his body and blood. And John records that many of Jesus' disciples left him that day. It was too much for them. They couldn't get their heads around it. They doubted, and they left. I don't know about you, but I find that consoling. Because I have doubted before I became a priest, and have had doubts up and down my priesthood. That there were people, disciples, people who were close to Jesus. And that means that they heard a lot of his teachings and they saw these mighty deeds that he did, and yet they still doubted because they couldn't understand. And they thought they would have to understand things that none of us are going to understand in order to believe. And so they left. But Peter, when Jesus said to his intimate group, to the 12, to his apostles, "And you, will you also leave me?" Peter speaks for them and says, "To whom shall we go? Lord, you have the words of everlasting life, and we have come to believe that you are the Holy One of God." It's not that Peter understood perfectly these words about the Eucharist or many of the other teachings of Jesus. And the Gospels record that the disciples, the apostles, often got Jesus wrong. But the thing that made Peter different than the other disciples who also doubted but left is that Peter looked around and says, I don't understand what you're saying, but I trust you and your words, and you're the Holy One of God. And where else in this world am I going to go for everlasting life? So I'm staying with you. That's discipleship. I'm staying with you. Doubt. Let me tell you a story of doubt. So there's this man, and he's walking along a mountain ridge, and it begins to narrow, and he slips and falls, and he starts to fall down the mountainside. But as he's falling, he catches hold of a branch, a tree branch, and he's literally dangling between life and death, hanging between life and death. And so he looks up and he calls out, he says, "Is there anybody up there?" And he hears a voice respond, "I am." "Let go of the branch. I'll catch you." And the man says, "You want me to let go? If I let go, I will fall." And the voice says, "Yes, you will fall, but I will catch you. Trust me." And the man pauses for a moment and then speaks up again. He says, "Is there anyone else up there?" Doubt. That's often what happens when we doubt, is we look somewhere else. We look for answers somewhere else. We look for other people or activities or groups or philosophies or ideologies or decisions or distractions. We look for control. We want to hold on to the thing that keeps us holding on to doubt. And we're not willing to let go and fall back. Because we will fall when we let go of the things that we're holding on to through doubt. But that's where we learn to trust in Jesus. That's where faith actually grows. And not despite doubt, but because of doubt. I'll tell you another story of doubt and trust. It's from my own life. When I was thinking about this scripture and praying with this week, I remember the night before I was ordained a priest. And I gathered with some family and friends, and we had a dinner, and then afterwards, as is tradition, I went to one of my priest friends and I said, hey, would you hear my final confession before I become a priest? And he said yes. And so I went to confession for him, and when I finished confessing my sins and I was wrapping up, I said, one more thing. I said, I still don't know 100% sure if this is what God is calling me to be a priest. I still doubt. I still doubt whether or not I was created for this. I still doubt whether or not I'm good enough to be a priest. He kind of chuckled, and he said, great, good. You're now ready to be a priest. And I'm like, what? And he said, David, faith is not the absence of doubt. Doubt is the catalyst for faith. Because what happens when we doubt? When we doubt, a lot of times, behind it all is control. My control. And letting go of control. And he said, when we doubt, we want to hang on to the thing that is causing us to doubt. But if we do that, and it could be that we want, like you said, to be 100% sure, but you're never going to be 100% sure about anything in this life, even though you might think it and feel it, especially when it comes to the mystery of human life, your life, and certainly the mystery of God. No. Rather, what we do is we let go of that control and the fear that's behind letting go of that control. And when we do, that's when, if you will, the spiritual muscle is exercised. And not just once, but over and over and over again as we doubt. That spiritual muscle is exercised by trust. You're right, you don't know your future, and you don't know 100% sure if God is calling you. That's what faith is. It's trusting without knowing. It's trusting in fear. It's trusting in worry. It's trusting with doubt. And it's using all of that in order to let go and fall in to Christ and the life that He has for you. And when you do that, it strengthens your trust in God, your faith in God. And this is where he wrapped up, and this is just like the 1-2 punch. He said, so that then, the rest of your life as a priest, when God sends you to people, or people God sends to you who are doubting, you'll know what to do with it. Because you've been living with it all your life. And you realize that God can use anything, especially doubt. And you'll be able to help people. And you'll be a good priest. That was 28 years ago. We all have doubts. There's not a single person in this church who hasn't doubted, or who, if you're young, won't go through that when you turn a teenager. We all doubt. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Right? There isn't a person, an activity, a person that you could become, a person out there, a group, an ideology, a philosophy, a lifestyle, a way of living, a distraction that you can hold on to like that guy holding on between life and death, there isn't anything like the Holy One of God. You can bank on your eternal salvation and everything else that follows that in this world and leads to that on the Holy One of God. And you don't have to understand him. You just have to trust him. But to trust him means you have to let go of trying to control your life and trying to control him. Now, I find it very consoling that some of Jesus' disciples doubted. We're in good company. But our response has to be Peter's response. Where else are we going to go, Lord, in this world? No matter the pace, no matter the job, no matter the relationships, no matter the life, no matter what I was before, no matter who I am, no matter who I fear to be or want to be, you're the Holy One of God. And I choose to stay with you. I choose to fall into you and let you catch me. And then God will spend the rest of your life sending you to people and sending people to you to help them deal with doubt the way you do. That's discipleship. And that is a beautiful life.